So what we have here is another different sampling technique that I had set up for one of my classes. This is a quadrat that is marked in the center of the quadrat. It's along a transect line like I showed you previously. And we set up a transect line that runs from the stream edge through a coniferous forest stand and up to a deciduous forest stand. We are right now kind of in that transition zone from a coniferous forest to a mixed and then up to a deciduous forest. But you could see the hemlock trees here. And what I have set up down here is within this quadrat is going to be 4 square foot floor tiles. And these floor tiles are great because we know the area that's underneath them, and they get colonized by amphibians, terrestrial salamanders, occasionally some frogs, and some larger macroinvertebrates that are found on the forest floor. So what we'll do is we'll flip one of these and we'll take a look to see if anybody's home, see if we can't identify who's under here. No one under this one. I'm not surprised. That's the way things work. Whenever you're trying to show somebody something, they're not there. We will try this adjacent one. These are in disrepair. They always get cracked in the spring. But what we can do is we can lift these up and see if anyone's under these. It doesn't look like anyone's home. No one's home under these ones. Well, that's one technique. I'm going to walk over a couple yards to my side here and I'm going to show you a drift fence that we have set up. This drift fence is part of a long-term salamander monitoring project. So there's a type of salamander that is a pond breeding salamander, and they migrate to ponds in the early spring, and they migrate from forested woodlands like these down to those ponds. And the aim of this project is we want to see the timing of migration from salamanders as they go from the from the forest to the pond. So if you're looking down this flashing that we have buried, on the left-hand side of this, that would be the direction of the pond. So we'd go down this way. That would be the direction of the pond. And anything up this way is where the salamanders are going to be coming from. And what we have is we have a series of buckets that are usually sunk into the ground. And what it allows us to do is collect amphibians as they migrate to these ponds. So normally this bucket would be sunk into the ground and it would be the other direction so that we can trap animals, salamanders, as they enter these buckets. What we then do is we count them at various distances away from the pond and then release them into the pond eventually as they work their way down there. It allows us to understand some of the timing and pattern of migration of these terrestrial woodland salamanders as they migrate to ponds to breed. As you might be able to see, we'll walk down these drift fences, that's what they're called. They're set up at certain intervals away from the pond. So we'll walk down to our next one. And you can see as I approach it, this would be the migration route of the salamander as it is trying to get to the pond. And one of the things that we know from lots of research, not that we've done, but it's well known, that males are going to arrive at ponds first. So not only are we able to sex the salamanders, but we count them and we look at the numbers or abundance of salamanders each year that come to these ponds. So this would be a series of buckets that are in the drift fence that's a little bit closer. Again, there's a bucket that's buried right there. As we walk along this side, see all these buckets that are buried. Another bucket. And this is where the salamanders they would go into those. Right now, since the field season's over, we have a lot of these doors opened so that animals can migrate to and from these ponds without getting trapped. The buckets are obviously turned upside down so we don't catch any animals at this point, but we've got a lot of these little routes right here where they could go into. We'll follow up with one last video at one of the ponds and show you the drift fence that's around the pond, the final catch point for these salamanders.